early on, when we were all still in uncharted territory, I learned the hard way that the only way to make a sign spinner not a target is to smile. Because if you frown, the world is ready to pile on you. Get a real job, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
I like Sprint better. You're like, and so, but when you're out there and you're smiling and displaying, and I'm serious, like even the minimal level of skill, even the most minimal, and you do it with joy, you transform from a target to a community hero. And I really believe in sign spinning's ability to change the temperature of a neighborhood. In that, like, probably half the people you see on any like residential area corner live there, right?
Yeah.
And when I definitely interact with one person and their neighbor and their roommate, and it becomes this shared experience that it's effervescent. And it's like, did you see that today? Oh, you didn't. And it's like this way of providing a loose spark of joy.
Exactly.
That people say, like, you know what? That person took this job and made it into something that they appreciate about themselves. Because, I do. I appreciate being a sign spinner as a part of myself. And people see that and they say, I wish I did something like that in my own. There's a stand-up comedian and he says, I wish I loved anything as much as kids love bubbles.
This is incredible. And it's not, because Joey, you said, oh yeah, no, Justin, I think of him as like the Sol LeWitt of spinning.
That's a new one. I'll take it.
But it's not. I don't think it's in the formal dimension of the craft of spinning, right? As much as it is a level of self-reflexivity about what spinning is, like, and can be, right? So your thoughts about spinning and being able to understand it socially, right, and in relationship to self, display a self-consciousness that we usually associate with art, right? And with LeWitt belonging to the apex of a modernist art. And by modernism, I would say modernism defined as self-reflexivity, right? So the ability for art to question itself. What am I, right? But I like getting into this idea about, no, this is, joy, right? And to know that seeing somebody take that job, and it really can, just the simple thing of seeing somebody enjoy what it is they're doing, and to see them do it well. And something as both physically demanding, but also the capacity for play.
I know you said that you were incentivized, but there had to be a point where you began to extract entertainment out of this instead of monetary value.
I'll say this. I think the hardest thing that any sign spinner does, and not all of them do, is see their work as important, as an opportunity to impact and influence people. Because, to be honest with you, there's been a lot of years of the career that I didn't care what was on the sign. That it was about the people. It was about, I have a gift, I have a skill or a talent. It's maybe all of those things. And I see what I do as important because people have told me so. Truthfully, I spun a Melrose and La Brea for a very long time. I had a couple approach me, and so Melrose and La Brea. I spun for the Jiffy Lube right there.
Yep,
I
know Melrose and La Brea.
You haven't seen us on Santa Monica and Orange.
And there was a Chipotle across the street, and a couple came up to me and they said, "Hey, I'm so glad you're here today because I need to tell you something. When we came to Los Angeles 2 years ago, and we had no money, we had no place to stay, everything was awful, we were sleeping outside, and we were at Chipotle, and we were crying and just not knowing what to do." And I was, of course, unaware of all of this. And they looked up and they looked at me, and I was doing the rowboat. And at that moment, they said, "Everything's gonna be okay." And I don't know that story except for the fact that they had to tell me. I didn't ask for that. That's what leads me to believe that it's true. And when you see the opportunity, like if you get 10,000 people a day, what do you do? Mm-hmm. You can't convince them of something. You can't sign petitions. You can't do 10,000 of anything. You can make 10,000 smiles in a day. And that is the most important, the most difficult thing, I think, for artists too. Yeah. There is that threshold where it's like, oh, I've been painting for 10 years, but it's not really any good. You have to, when you take your gift seriously and view the importance of your own unique value and like, this is what I do whether I like it or not.
Right.
Like, and you see it and you say, this is what's important. This is my opportunity right now. It's a small opportunity. It's a big opportunity. Who knows? Who cares? It's mine. And so we go out and we do it. And I think that as far as drawing, like going from the tencentive to something more personal is when I realized how powerful sign spinning is, not could be, how powerful it is as it's like a false medium. Yes, it's advertising, of course it is, and it's very effective advertising. But more importantly than that, it's a communication. Mm-hmm. Advertising, sure, communication. And communication.
Right.
Like that's like the thing behind it. And that's what these truisms, that's what makes it so interesting, is because when you combine that joy and that ability to communicate with these truisms of sentences on conceptual art, it says something like, I believe. You know, it's like, I have to, you know, and I mean, I'll be honest with you, I've sold $1 million houses on a sign spinning. Like they pulled up and said like, I bought a house because of you. I'm like, you really, really shouldn't make large financial decisions based on a 24-year-old with a piece of plastic, okay? But thank you. Thank you for letting me know. And it's like, what greater testimony can you have? Like, it's a statement of belief. And these beliefs and this understanding conveys the truth of it all. Mm-hmm. About art, about Sol LeWitt and his approach to art. Yeah. There is something undeniably true that it's not even worth describing as long as you recognize that it is.
Mm-hmm. You know, the performance has to be rooted in truth. And I in watching what you do, the true or falseness of it is suspended in favor of it, what is, you know, so, and that has more to do with like a level of investment, you know, and I think that's if I were going to peg the truth to something, right? We don't think about the truth in terms of degrees, but that level of investment, and you can feel, you know, it transmits, like you were saying, something to me that I am going to, describe as true, in terms of like an investment of feeling or commitment, behind the moves, the tricks. But there's something more than them being simply moves or tricks. Like you're saying, you have to put this other thing aside, and the way that you're committed to something. So I don't know if truth, alongside of that, I guess, would be commitment. And just watching you move and try and maintain this thing, hold this thing, flip this thing. It's like, you seem committed.
To that point, I would suggest that commitment comes from belief, in that you cannot commit to what you do not believe in.
Right.
And you cannot believe in what you are not aware of. And given our linear progression through gaining knowledge and all of those things, as our awareness increases, our ability to believe expands, and those beliefs reveal themselves as opportunities for commitment. Mm-hmm. And so it is, I think, and going back to about like seeing sign spinning or being an artist as important, it's a process of believing it to be. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, it's not. It's mm-hmm. one of those Peter Pan things. It's if you don't believe, it's not.
Yeah.
But all it requires is, and I was not prepared to take this to faith and sign spinning today.
No.
But here we are.
Well, even at the first statement of the sentences on conceptual art, artists are mystics rather than rationalists. I would say
you're telling me
that opens up more than enough space for those kinds of speculations, right? Yeah. About what you do, and in terms of belief, commitment. But I like what you were saying about the increase in opportunities. Perhaps getting older, and part of that being increasing the number of opportunities for me to believe in things, which is very, very beautiful.
Yeah, it's I have a working theory about how I approach things in life. I'll share it. It is success comes from consistency, comes from commitment, comes from belief, comes from awareness, comes from education, comes from searching, comes from asking, comes from wanting, comes from knowing yourself. When you know yourself, you know what you learn what you want, you learn how to ask for what you want, which leads to education. Your education leads to awareness, which creates beliefs that you selectively choose to commit to. Out of those commitments, you are consistent with a few of them, and that is where you are successful.
Wow.
I don't know, the one that comes to you. Here we go, ready? We can do it again. Harry. Yeah.